Hello everyone, John AG here. Welcome back to my channel, Aurex. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. In this channel, you will find the real information, real market updates that everyone cannot tell you. So please subscribe to this channel and love you all of my subscribers for your support. And please watch this video till the very end because YouTube will not push my videos to more people. Make sure you hit the like button and share this with your family because what we are about to discuss today is a matter of absolute survival. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to answer it honestly in the quiet of your own mind. When you woke up this morning, did you feel a sense of stability? Or did you feel that creeping, undeniable sensation that something deep within the machinery of our world is fundamentally broken? You are not imagining things. You are not being paranoid. What you are feeling is the invisible, seismic shifting of the tectonic plates of global finance. We are sitting here today in May 2026, and the world has irreversibly changed. The beautiful, intoxicating illusion that we have been living under for the last 50 years is shattering right before our eyes. We are currently living through the opening chapters of the most profound and devastating financial reset in modern human history. The global banking system, the very lifeblood that pumps capital through the veins of our civilization, is failing. It is not failing in a spectacular overnight explosion that makes for a great Hollywood movie. It is failing in a slow, agonizing, methodical bleed that drains the wealth, the hope, and the future of the working class. And while you are distracted by the political theater, the cultural divides, and the endless noise of the 24-hour news cycle, the greatest, most ruthless wealth transfer in the history of mankind is executing flawlessly in the background. To understand the terrifying reality of our present moment, we must pull back the curtain on how we arrived at this precipice. You have been lied to. For decades, the central bankers, the politicians, and the academic elites told you that money could be printed infinitely without consequence. They told you that a sovereign nation could run multi-trillion-dollar deficits forever, that debt was simply a theoretical number on a digital ledger, a harmless mechanism used to fuel eternal economic growth. Since the severing of the gold standard in 1971, we have been running the largest, most reckless economic experiment ever conceived by man. A global system backed by absolutely nothing but faith, credit, and the coercive power of the state. For a long time, the experiment appeared to work. Central banks across the globe orchestrated an era of artificial prosperity through 0% interest rates and endless rounds of quantitative easing. They built a towering, magnificent skyscraper, but they built it on a foundation of shifting sand. When the crisis of 2008 hit, they did not fix the underlying rot. They simply papered over it with trillions of newly printed dollars, bailing out the very institutions that caused the fire, while leaving the average citizen to burn. Then came 2020 and 2021, where the money printing accelerated to a velocity never before witnessed. They flooded the system with liquidity, creating massive, unsustainable bubbles in the stock market, the housing market, and the bond market. But there is a universal law of economics, a law as undeniable as gravity. You cannot print wealth. You can only print currency. And when you print currency faster than you produce goods and services, you get inflation. Now, the tide has violently gone out. The central banks, panicked by the roaring inflation they themselves engineered, were forced to hike interest rates at the fastest pace in history. They slammed on the brakes while the global economy was driving at 100 miles an hour. They promised a soft landing. They told you the banking system was resilient and robust. Those were lies designed to prevent you from pulling your money out of their institutions. Today, the mathematics of the global debt market have become a death spiral. Consider the staggering reality of sovereign debt. In 2026, the United States alone is staring down a national debt that is mathematically unpayable. We are spending more money just paying the interest on our past debt than we are spending on national defense, healthcare, or infrastructure. The governments of the world are effectively bankrupt, and when the sovereign is broke, the entire financial ecosystem built upon its debt begins to suffocate. Let us dive deeply into the exact mechanism of how your local bank is failing right now. It begins with the bond market, the foundation of global finance. When interest rates were at zero, banks took your hard-earned deposits and bought long-term government bonds and mortgage-backed securities, thinking they were the safest investments on earth. But bond prices move inversely to interest rates. When the central banks rapidly hiked rates to fight inflation, the value of those old, low-yielding bonds plummeted. Today, the global banking sector is sitting on trillions of dollars in unrealized losses. They are legally insolvent. If a critical mass of people were to walk into their banks tomorrow and demand their cash, the banks would have to sell those bonds at a massive loss, and the doors would close forever. We saw the foreshocks of this earthquake in 2023 with the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and Credit Suisse. You were told those were isolated incidents. You were told the crisis was contained. It was never contained. It was simply delayed. But the bond market is only one blade of the scissors that is cutting the banking system in half. The second blade is the apocalyptic collapse of commercial real estate. I want you to picture the skyline of your nearest major city. Picture those magnificent glass towers, the monuments to modern corporate power. Now, realize that a vast percentage of those buildings are ghost towns. The fundamental shift in how we work, combined with staggering corporate layoffs, has hollowed out office spaces across the globe. But an empty building does not just hurt a wealthy landlord, it destroys the mid-sized and regional banks that lent them the money. During the era of cheap money, banks lent hundreds of billions of dollars to commercial developers, assuming property values would continually rise and rent checks would flow eternally. Today, those massive loans are maturing. The developers cannot refinance because interest rates are punishingly high, and their buildings are sitting empty, generating no revenue. The collateral backing these loans has evaporated. Buildings that were appraised at $100 million 5 years ago are selling for $30 million today. The banks are caught in a fatal, inescapable trap. If they force a sale of the property, they realize the massive loss and go bankrupt. If they hold on to the toxic asset, they slowly bleed to death as non-performing loans pile up, poisoning their balance sheets. This creates a terrifying contagion called a credit freeze. Because the banks are terrified, because they know they are sitting on a powder keg of bad debt, they have completely stopped lending. They are hoarding every dollar of liquidity they can find. And in a debt-based economy, when credit freezes, the heart of the economy stops beating. Small businesses cannot get lines of credit to make payroll. Mortgages become unaffordable. Innovations are starved of capital. The human cost of this mathematical failure is immense. Behind every defaulted loan is a family whose dream was shattered. Behind every frozen line of credit is a business owner forced to look their employees in the eye and tell them they no longer have a job. This is the reality of 2026. The era of extend and pretend is officially over, and the bill has come due. While our domestic banking system cannibalizes itself, an even more terrifying paradigm shift is occurring on the geopolitical chessboard. We are bearing witness to the death of the unipolar financial order and the rapid, aggressive de-dollarization of the world. For nearly 80 years, the US dollar has enjoyed the exorbitant privilege of being the world's reserve currency. This status allowed the West to export its inflation, run massive trade deficits, and wield unprecedented financial power. We forced the world to price its energy and commodities in our currency. But trust is a fragile commodity, and once it is broken, it cannot be easily repaired. When the West chose to weaponize the global financial system, freezing the sovereign reserves of foreign nations and cutting them off from the SWIFT payment network, they sent a chilling, unmistakable message to the rest of the planet. Your money is only yours until we decide that it isn't. That was the catalyst. By early 2026, the BRICS coalition, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and a rapidly expanding list of massive energy-producing nations, have accelerated their financial rebellion. They are executing a meticulously planned decoupling from the Western banking architecture. The petrodollar system, the very engine of U.S. financial supremacy, is unraveling. Nations in the global South and the East are settling trade in their local currencies. They are utilizing new alternative financial networks like Project Mbridge, completely bypassing the dollar, the euro, and the watchful eyes of Western central banks. Why does this matter to you? Why should you, sitting at home trying to pay your mortgage, care about international trade settlements? You must care, because it directly dictates the cost of your survival. As the global demand for the dollar falls, the value of the dollar inevitably plummets. And when your currency loses its value on the global stage, the cost of everything you need to survive skyrockets. You cannot print oil. You cannot print copper. You cannot print wheat, corn, or natural gas. We have to import these physical necessities. This is called imported inflation, and it is a tax that cannot be legislated away. As the BRICS nations hoard physical gold at a record-breaking pace, securing hard assets and building resilient supply chains outside of Western control, Our central banks are trapped, printing increasingly worthless fiat currency to bail out a dying, bloated banking sector. The real wealth, the tangible value of the world, is flowing steadily from west to east, and the middle class is the collateral damage in this silent financial war. But every crisis is engineered into an opportunity by those who hold power. The failure of the legacy banking system is not merely an accident of greed and incompetence. For the global elite, it is a necessary demolition to usher in the ultimate mechanism of control. As confidence in commercial banks evaporates, as people stand outside locked branch doors wondering where their life savings have gone, the central banks will swoop in, playing the role of the benevolent savior. They will offer you a solution that sounds perfect, safe, and secure. The central bank digital currency, or CBDC. They will tell you that the old system was too risky, too prone to bank runs and corporate greed. They will invite you to download a digital wallet directly connected to the central bank. It will be marketed as instant, seamless, and completely immune to the failures of the commercial banking sector. It will be presented as the ultimate convenience. I beg you to look beneath the surface of this Trojan horse. You must understand the Faustian bargain you are being asked to make. A CBDC is the exact antithesis of freedom. It is not like Bitcoin, which is decentralized, permissionless, finite, and outside the control of any government. A CBDC is centralized, infinitely printable, and heavily permissioned. It represents the total, horrifying fusion of money and state surveillance. When money becomes a programmable digital token issued directly by the state, it ceases to be money. It becomes a tool of behavioral engineering. In a fully implemented CBDC ecosystem, financial privacy goes extinct. The state will have a godlike view of every transaction you ever make. They will know what you buy, where you travel, what organizations you donate to, and what books you read. But surveillance is only the first layer of the velvet prison. The true terror lies in the programmability of the currency. Imagine an economic downturn where the government decides that consumer spending needs a boost. They could simply program your digital dollars to expire if you do not spend them within 30 days, robbing you of your ability to save for your future. Imagine a scenario where carbon quotas are strictly enforced. The algorithm could monitor your purchases and automatically freeze your ability to buy red meat or gasoline once you have exceeded your monthly carbon allowance. Imagine attending a protest or voicing a dissenting opinion online, only to find that your digital wallet has been instantly deactivated, cutting you off from the ability to buy food or pay your rent. This is not science fiction. The infrastructure for this exact system is being built, tested, and deployed globally right now in 2026. The deliberate collapse of the commercial banking system is the psychological battering ram being used to force humanity into a paradigm of absolute financial compliance. The historic wealth transfer we are witnessing is not merely about the shifting of capital. It is about the wholesale transfer of human sovereignty and individual liberty into the hands of an unelected technocracy. I know that listening to this reality is overwhelming. It is dark, it is heavy, and it is deeply unsettling. But I am not telling you this to paralyze you with fear. Fear is the weapon of the uninformed. Fear is what the establishment relies on to keep you docile, compliant, and dependent on their solutions. I am telling you this because wealth is never truly destroyed in a crisis. It is only transferred. If you study history, if you look at the Weimar Republic in the 1920s, the Great Depression in the 1930s, or the collapse of the Soviet economy, the narrative is always identical. The masses, trusting the government and holding their wealth in paper currency, lose absolutely everything. They are wiped out. But a small, prepared, educated minority does not just survive. They accumulate generational wealth. How do they do it? They do it by understanding the mechanics of inflation. Inflation is the most insidious tax ever devised. It is a silent thief that breaks into your home every single night and steals a fraction of your labor. It is a deliberate policy tool used by heavily indebted governments to slowly default on their unpayable obligations. By destroying the purchasing power of the currency, they reduce the real, inflation-adjusted value of their massive debts. The middle class is being systematically eradicated because the middle class measures its wealth in fiat currency. You trade your finite time, your sweat, and your energy for pieces of paper that the government can conjure into existence with a few keystrokes. You store that paper in a bank account that pays you 3% interest, while the real cost of living rises by 15%. You are walking up a down escalator that is speeding up every single day. The elite do not play this game. The elite do not hold their wealth in fiat currency. The elite hold hard, tangible, productive assets. While the general public is panicking over banking app outages, credit downgrades, and the rising cost of groceries, the institutional investors, the sovereign wealth funds, and the ultra-wealthy are quietly, aggressively sweeping up the board. They are utilizing leverage to acquire productive farmland, recognizing that whoever controls the food supply controls the future. They are accumulating massive reserves of physical gold and silver, returning to the only historically proven, debt-free, Tier 1 reserve assets that have survived every single fiat currency collapse in the last 5,000 years. They are acquiring scarce digital assets like Bitcoin, recognizing the absolute necessity of a decentralized, unconfiscatable, mathematically fixed ledger that exists outside the jurisdiction of any dying empire. They are buying energy infrastructure, mineral rights, and commodities. They are fleeing from paper promises and running toward tangible reality. When the fiat monetary system finally reaches its mathematical conclusion, when the debt bubble bursts and the currency undergoes a massive devaluation, the people holding cash and government bonds will be decimated. But the people who transferred their wealth into scarce, high-demand, hard assets will find that their wealth has not only been preserved, but multiplied exponentially relative to the collapsing currency. This is the Great Divide. This is the defining moment of our generation. The gap between the informed and the uninformed, between the prepared and the oblivious, is widening into an unbridgeable chasm. If you are standing on the wrong side of this divide, relying on the state to protect you, relying on a failing bank to secure your labor, you will be swept away by the current. But you do not have to be a victim. The fact that you have watched this far, the fact that you are seeking out the truth, means that you have the psychological fortitude to face the storm. Knowledge, applied with courage, is the ultimate equalizer. You must immediately change your entire financial paradigm. You must stop valuing your net worth in dollars, euros, or pounds. These currencies are melting ice cubes. You must begin thinking in terms of ounces of gold, satoshis of Bitcoin, acres of land, and tangible skills. You must convert your dying inflationary energy into assets that the government cannot print, inflate, or freeze. You must drastically reduce or eliminate variable rate debt. In a highly volatile, stagflationary environment, debt is a chain around your neck. Do not let the collapsing banking sector feast on your hard work through exorbitant, rising interest payments. You must take back your financial sovereignty and become your own central bank. Do not leave your wealth centralized in an institution that can be shut down, bailed in, or frozen over a weekend by a desperate government. Diversify your risk across different jurisdictions if possible. Take physical possession of your precious metals. Learn how to self-custody your digital assets with hardware wallets. Remember the golden rule of this new era. If you do not hold the keys, if you do not hold the physical asset, you do not own it. You are merely an unsecured creditor to a bankrupt system. Most importantly, you must invest in the ultimate unconfiscatable asset, yourself and your community. The global economy may fracture, supply chains may break, and the digital screens may flicker out, but your skills, your resilience, and your ability to produce tangible value for your fellow human beings can never be taken away by a central bank. Build localized businesses, learn how to grow food, cultivate deep, trusting relationships with your neighbors. In an age of systemic institutional failure, strong, decentralized human networks are your ultimate safety net. We are living through a profound turning point in history. The history books of the next century are being written right now in the decisions you make today. The actions you take in the next 12 to 18 months will unequivocally determine the financial destiny of your family for generations to come. Do not allow the engineered panic to paralyze you. Let your anger at the betrayal of the system fuel your intense focus. Let your love for your family and your children drive your relentless preparation. The system is undeniably failing. The wealth is undeniably transferring. But you, and only you, get to decide where your wealth transfers to. I built Aurex because I could no longer sit back and watch good, honest, hardworking people be led to the financial slaughterhouse by mainstream pundits who care more about their corporate sponsors than your survival. I am here to stand in the fire with you. Together, we will cut through the propaganda, track the real macroeconomic data, analyze the shifting geopolitical sands, and uncover the immense opportunities hidden deep within this chaos. If this deep dive provided you with clarity, if it validated the unease you have been feeling, and if it empowered you to take control of your financial destiny, I ask you to take action right now. Share this video everywhere. Post it on your social media, send it in text messages to your friends, and discuss it at your dinner tables. The algorithms that control these platforms are designed to suppress this exact type of truth. They do not want this message to reach the masses because an awake, prepared populace cannot be controlled. We rely entirely on you, the Aurex community, to break through the digital suppression. Hit the like button to help push this through the algorithm. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Tell me what you are seeing in your local economy, how inflation is impacting your daily life, and what steps you are taking to protect your family. Your insights help everyone in this community grow stronger. Subscribe to Aurex right now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a critical, time-sensitive update in this rapidly evolving environment. Love you, all of my subscribers, for your incredible, unwavering support. Stay strong, stay fiercely vigilant, and never stop preparing.